Okay, today we're just gonna do a little wiring on this. This is my Trident maple, my single one. It has grown out all summer and is here where it is now. We didn't get a lot of growth on these things, which is I didn't really want them. I wanted the leader to grow and grow and help thicken up this the base of it, which is about an inch, a little over an inch wide. So that's getting good. So height we are at is, see if I can get the thing up there without it folding over on me. Okay, I can't get it all the way up there, but we're nearly at 5 feet total, which where it grew out, right here is where I cut it off last winter, and it's grown out from there, and that's less than a foot. So we put over 4 feet on it over the summer, and what I'm going to do for it, I need to cut it back eventually. It's got to cut back to go over to winter storage. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut it back right here. There's two buds here. I'm just going to chop it below that other one. So there it is, 4 feet. We have. And I'm not going to touch anything else for the winter. Not really a good time for cutting the tree, but it can be a good time to wire because there's no leaves on it. And it's still flexible from the sap flowing. The sap is still probably flowing a little bit, even though it's going dormant. All the leaves have fallen, but it's still got enough flexibility that we can wire it, put it in place, and it'll hold, and it'll be able to sit all winter. Because of course it ain't growing, we won't have to worry about the wire digging in. So I was going to take this approach this year with more of my trees of wiring them here in the fall. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to wire this down a little bit, and I want to wire this into place a little bit. That's about it. What I'm going to do. Next year for this, I'm not sure yet. Let me measure it. I typically use, I'm looking at this as being probably about this tall, which is about 16 to 18 inches. It's where I'm looking for the top. Maybe, yeah, probably 16. 16 is probably the most. So, a good formula for this that I learned is for every inch of base you have, you want about 6 feet roughly. It's a guideline to go off. It's a good guideline for the balance of the tree, for the width and the height. So with me trying to target for a 16 to 18 inch height, we would be looking at about 3 inches, almost 3 inches down here. So we still want to get this growing, but I'm debating. I'll decide this in the winter, but I'm debating on whether to let this grow at least one more year, because we are starting to get to the point where I cut this off. I mean, still, we cut this off. This should heal over no worse than one of these. And if we need to, like these, I kind of like these on the Trident maples. I don't think look bad with a little bit of bulging on here. I may eventually cut these back, but you can always. I find with the Trident maples, you most of the time will not get a good. You'll sometimes get a good one that goes pretty flush like these two did, but sometimes they will just. These were all cut about the same way, fairly flush, and some of them flare up. Now, honestly, I don't think this looks too bad if you're looking for that look. So I may keep these. I'm not worried about them right now, but we got to think about this eventually. The bigger this gets, the bigger the wound will be here. I don't think it'll be too much of a problem closing in. As you see on this one, now this one died back some on this side, as you can see the branch, so it didn't heal over as much on this side as good, but this side, I mean, that's almost 1 year, that almost covered half that wound. So it's not a huge problem to get them to heal over. So we're gonna probably leave this at least another year. This will probably be the new leader next year. And I will wire this up so it's more straight. It'll be out of the way better when we're doing the wiring real quick. Now this branch, as we're going right now, I'd like to bend it down some because so far I haven't got any back butting in here. I would like to get back butting in here because this is a little straight, but if I get it with a little bit of bend, it'll have a bend, and what I have up here will work. So like I said, the 18 to 16 inches, which is mean we'd need close to 3 inches down here, which we're getting there. I mean, this tree probably was, when I got it, I'm going to say 1/4 of an inch. Because I bought it from a guy that usually that's about somewhere eighth inch to 1/4 of an inch when you buy them. So I've had it 3 years. I've put about 1/4 of an inch on each year, so a few more years. And I think I put more on later than I did earlier. The first year I didn't put as much on as the last 2 years. So we could look at. We could hope anywhere another 1/4 to 1/3 a year growing it out. But we might have to change the growing out to one of these later. Like maybe 1 year do this one year do this, because this could use some thickening up eventually, and this could use some thickening up eventually. But we still would like this all to thicken up more than these right now for proportions. So like I said, we're looking at about 3 inches I'm thinking about 3 inches for the width of this. And so far I'm thinking this is the front because the branches come a little further. I would hope at some point we get a back bud back here. And I'm thinking there'd be more chance of that coming when this comes off. This is sucking up so much of the energy. I mean, none of this barely grew. I mean, there's trees on it. Their buds ready for next year. They're growing, but this is what put most of the thing in. And I'm gonna I usually just I'm not worried about healing here. I'm just worried about a little bit of drying out. So I just put a little bit of paste on the end to seal it up. Because it's just got to sit over winter anyways, because like I said, I probably will go with this. I mean, it has to be something over. It could be one of these, or it could be this for the new leader. So, I mean, this doesn't much matter, and I'll cut accordingly. I'll cut it back in the spring. But I prefer for the winter just to leave it on and not chance dyeing too much back on it for some reason in the winter. So I like leaving an extra on in the winter. So let's get started here. For this, we're going to need, I've got a pretty thick piece of wire that should work. I'm just going to wrap it up, bring it up the trunk here. Like so. And I always find the thicker wires are harder to, they're a bit harder just to get to do what you want. But that's because you need them to be able to hold their position. We're going to put a piece of wire on this too. Because as we sit now, we're not getting any, we don't have any back butting on that. wire cutters here. I don't need a big piece. I'm just gonna run up the, I don't have anywhere to anchor it really, so I'm just gonna run it up the wire we already have here. And what I generally do when I wire is I just wire everything up, and then I worry about then I worry about moving it, because a lot of times you're going to move the wire anyways. And this we're going to do again. We don't have another branch available at the moment to anchor this around. So we're just going to bring it up the trunk, which was the way I learned to wire out of a book. Was just, I mean, the book showed the one way to do it, of just wiring everything up the branch and bringing any wires you needed to come up further up along the other wires, which I use both methods. And I usually just generally try to eye the amount of wire I need when I'm doing it. And honestly, I've never had a need so far to worry about the tidiness of the wire. I mean, I try to keep it as tidy as I can. If it's not real tidy, I'm not worried about it, because really the only time you need the wires to be real tidy, I mean, you want them to work and do their job, but they don't need to be perfectly tidy to do that. You just need to generally get them along the trunks and up and in the way. Now this is just getting brought up in case we use this as the thing. I just want this to be more straight, so it's out of the way. It's the only reason I've wired that up. I will trim this little piece of wire off of here, like so. Trying to see if I need to wire anything else up. I think I want to put one more piece of wire up here, and that'll be this stuff. Like I said, you just think you want it to come back down here, come up to here. You just give yourself a little extra. Of course, percentage-wise, but generally, the more you're going to need, the longer the piece is overall. And like I said, this way of wiring, you just bring the wire. Oh no! See, now I did this wrong. I wanted this on the outer side of the big piece, like this, because I want this to come up around this big piece, like so. I'm just going to move this. This is going to be bent back that way anyway, so just want to bring this around, and I'm just going to generally bend that piece. Okay. Down like that. I just want to bring this piece down a little bit. And then we're going to bring this whole piece down, which we can hold the end of this wire more securely here. I don't probably want to bend it too much more than that. You probably can't see it, but there's a few cracks that open up there. But I still want to try to bend this part a little bit. Okay. Then this, I think I'm going to need a smaller piece to come up and get this end. Just got to see where I want to run this. Okay, so this I can actually run along the smaller, this first smaller piece I had. Just generally wanted a piece that would come. I want this to more generally come up and a little towards the back. I'm just going to give this another bend just to help. And somewhat of the advantage of this is that on bigger pieces, you may have extra wire that's coming up that will help a little more. Okay, now we just want to generally bend this one down, and then, oh, I needed another piece of wire on that too. I actually needed a longer piece of wire on that, but I'll just stick a second piece on now. I don't know why I thought I needed so little there. Oh well. Just generally want to get this a better position out here, because my plan is to have a canopy. I got to get something grown. I need something eventually out here. Hopefully something will eventually grow out here, but I want this to be here, and then I want a smaller canopy lower here. This I'm not worried about. I have branches to work with, but we have to ignore this. Oops. I stuck my finger in the stuff here. This we want to generally ignore when we're planning these two out, because this will be gone eventually. This is planned to be cut off here at some point. I think it will be one more year of this growth, and then we'll work on growing off of these. But so there is, I'll cut that off in a minute, that extra. There's generally that, all wired up for the winter. Like I said, I think this tree's coming along quite well. Let's see, I don't think I broke this, but it's got broke at some point. This looks like it's been broken a while. I'm just going to cut that back. Other than that, I don't want to touch anything. I'll leave it till I take the wire off the wind. In the spring, and it's budding out, starting to bud out, I'll decide if I need to trim anything back. But we're doing pretty good on this. It's kind of put out a decent fall color. It was like orangish, nice and orange, a nice orange. But I forgot to get around to taking even pictures of it. Wasn't the greatest. The leaves were they got a little funky at the end of the year, so they weren't the prettiest. But it was a nice orange if the leaves were in better shape. So that will be it for this one. So if you enjoyed, like, comment, and I'll see you next time.